Good evening, everyone. Here's a quick update on the van project. There's a few odds and sods that need to be done here just to fill in the time or frustration in between frustrations of bodywork. And I had mentioned this in earlier videos. If you run into problems, move on. I haven't got any problems. I just needed to stretch out a little bit, and I figured I'd do a video on the little things that need to be done. As I had mentioned in the initial video, this originally had a fuel injected 305 in it, and someone did a quick and dirty small block swap. It's got a 350 in it now. Of course, it was a small block previous, but it does have a carbureted 350 on there, and it's tired. It runs, it starts and runs really well. It's just tired. Anyway, what we got going on here is this is a quick and dirty job, a greasy old quick and dirty job that was never really finished. Like, everything's loose, the wiring's a disaster. The front drive, the front of the serpentine system was only held on with one bolt that was loose on the Trans-Canada Highway. I found that out. The battery, everything was just haphazard. You can see that the wiring for the fuel injection still kind of half wired into the engine bay, and we're going to clean that all up. The engine's hemorrhaging from the valve covers profusely, as well as the oil sender unit in the back, and I'll show you that as we go along here. But yeah, we've got little things to do. I would like to take the grill out. I need a headlight bezel. If not, I'm going to fix this one. I don't have the piece, so I'll be manufacturing it if I can't find one locally. The grill's in good shape, and the other bezel's okay. But I'd like to take it out, clean it up, and paint it. The bow tie fell out. It's in my office, and I'm going to make an art project of that. So anyways, I'll pause here, and we'll get you into the doghouse. Welcome to the doghouse, where you can see the belly button of vintage engines. So here's our 350, and you can see obviously that we've got a bit of an oil leak here, and where it stems from is this little fitting. The old furrow fell off because someone hit it and tightened it up too hard and whacked it with a wrench, and oh my god, it broke off and sprayed oil everywhere, and obviously all over the manifolds, and caused a hell of a smoke show, and very embarrassing. So we're gonna fix this up right away. Anyway, sorry about that. You'll all three go poked out. 4 bubbles. But we got to get this all cleaned up. So this is one of those interim jobs. I rebuilt the carburetor on the Trans-Canada Highway because the float was stuck and puking fuel. That was a lot of fun. It also died on me on the way home, and it was a bad connection to the battery. Those little 5/16 nut bolts that go into the side post battery failed. So here I am, vice grips and duct tape and whatever. Got it back on the road. But other than that, it ran good. The transmission works good. It works well. It's a turbo 375, but I think the torque converter's let go. It's got a vibration, almost like someone's put a turbo 400 balancer and flex plate on a internally balanced motor, like a 350, 305, blah blah blah. So that's what it's like. And what we're gonna do is I'm gonna unbolt the torque converter and slide it back and start the motor and see if the vibration goes away. If that's the case, then we've got our culprit. Now, I don't have a turbo 375. The turbo 375 is a light duty version of the turbo 400. This one's got the 7.5 inch, I think, or it's a 7-inch tail housing on it, so it's not the super long one. It's like the mid-length. The long tail shafts were for full-size long wheelbase cars. And you'll see a really long tail shaft on those that are not common, not as common today. But anyways, what I do have, if we do have a problem, is I have a fresh 350, turbo 350 short tail, and I have a drive shaft to match. I need it shortened, unfortunately. So if this is a problem, I'll drop the pan and see if it's full of metal and clutches, and if it isn't, which I probably, there's a 0% chance that it's got a clean pan. There's probably a problem. But it did shift well. But if that's the case and the pan is clean, I will humor stabbing another torque converter in this and stuffing it back in and go. But it's likely shaking the bushings out of it. I did put a tail shaft bushing and had the drive shaft balanced. I installed a new tail shaft bushing because it was wore out and had the drive shaft balance, and it took about 50% of the vibration away. So those were the usual suspects: U-joints and tail shaft bushing. So I had all that done. I did the U-joints here in-house, and then I had it balanced, the shaft balanced, at a friendly machine shop that I use, or speed shop. And I changed the tail housing bushing. I put a Turbo 350 tail housing bushing in it, and I had to hone it to fit, so it's a really nice fit. It's not sloppy and it's not too terribly tight, but there's no movement in there causing a flex or a whipping motion in the drive line. So it's narrowed down to either this engine's got the wrong balancer or flex plate, or the torque converter's let go, and I'm going for the latter on this one. But anyways, there's other little things that need to be done here as well. I'd like to address the wiring issues. Like, this is all from the fuel injection. It's wrapped around all around underneath the frame and over top of the transmission, and all these bad grounds that aren't connected to anything. What's that? So we got to go under there and fix that all up. I have a new ferrule to replace the one that got buggered up here. And I got a whole new kit in case that ferrule doesn't work out and the hose is bunged in some way. I don't want to have to be scrambling at 3 in the morning, as I am a nocturnal person. I don't function well in the day. I work at night. I'm permanently on night shift. It is what it is. Also, these manifolds are air injection type manifolds, and they leak all around where the air injection pipes exit the manifold itself as well. Someone's crimped it over and it's all carboned up. It's obviously leaking. So we got a set of headers to put on this. Unfortunately, it's just one of those things that has to be plucked away at in between the bodywork. I need to take this secondary oil pressure sender unit off. It was utilized for the fuel injection type setup where I have a remote style here. And I will be replacing this plastic hose with metal hose. I do have some in the shop. I just have to get it together, and I'd like to put a union in so I can pull it apart without having to take the whole entire bloody dash apart to get the gauge disconnected or pull the motor type of deal. Blah, blah, blah. I'm rambling, and I know that didn't make any sense, but it did in my brain. Okay, so this is some little tasks that need to be done. I'm going to end up having to reroute plug wires. Do a little bit of wiring here. There's going to be some shifter linkage interference underneath the van. These brake lines more than likely will have to be bent out of the way. There's lots of material and there's lots of room to massage them. And we'll likely be putting a thermal insulation on them at the end of the day. The fuel line may also present the same problem on the passenger side, but we're going to attack the driver's side first because it presents more of complication than the passenger side, just simply due to the fact that the shifter linkage is in the way. I've done this before, but it's been so long. It's been a long time since I had a van. I was a teenager, and that's well over 20 years ago, so I don't have any recollection of it. I don't have any pictures. YouTube's been my savior with getting this stuff done. I have no pictures of any of the projects I've done. So we're just going to continue on with that, with the boob tube here, the old lube tuber, as old Zip Ties calls her. I'd like to give those guys a shout out: Zip Ties and Bias Plies, Uncle Tony's Garage, and DD Speed Shop. DD Speed Shop and Zip Ties are up here in Canada. They're pretty relatively local, within a within a few thousand miles of me. But we're all in this together, making low buck stuff happen with what we got, with the knowledge that we have. And I'm a millwright and heavy duty by trade in my former life. I did RV repairs also for a living, so there's a lot of knowledge there. Body work and stuff is secondary. It was part of the hobby as when I was a kid. I've been doing this since I was in single digits, out in the shop with my dad, and that's where I get my passion for doing this. Is we've been a hot rod family my whole life. I was brought home in a hot rod. Yeah, in the middle of winter. That was lots of fun, I imagine. So anyways, there's all this little stuff, as you can see. If you want to complain and point things out, go for it. It does have the tall, what do you call it, adapter for a truck or a van. So the vans have a notorious problem with sucking in hot air. So there might be an interesting video in the future. We'll see what we do. We may do a hood modification with a some hood scoops that do not leak rain. But that might be another project, might not happen. We'll go from there. But this is the odds and sods type of thing that needs to be done. The wiring is absolutely atrocious. The wiring, like I said, it wraps underneath and under the frame and around the transmission. It was just a dirty hack job to get this thing back on the road. Whether the school board did this or not, I really don't know. I doubt it. I mean, the mechanical department might have done the engine swap back in the day, but this looks like this was done in haste just to get this back on the road. And that's what it did until whatever happened. It was probably dropped because of a vibration in the transmission. Of course, the seller will never say anything about that, and I don't care. I wanted the van, and I had the parts, and that's not his obligation. I didn't ask the questions, and I knew I'd be doing a driveline at some point. But this engine runs good. It's just tired. It doesn't push blue. It's just, the oil pressure isn't exactly what it could be, and it is what it is. We'll just run it until I get my other engine I'll put back together after the machine shop stuff in the future. But until then, this is the engine that we're going to run with. We'll clean it up, get rid of that hemorrhaging mess, change the valve cover gaskets, perhaps a manifold change. I have different manifolds to choose from. We'll see. This one's got a stovepipe on it for heat riser on the Quadrajet. So the old Q-Jet there. This is I believe an 83 or 84 model 350. Could be 2 or 4, it doesn't matter, I don't care. Being an automatic transmission, that's like the biggest harmonic balancer in the world. The torque converter absorbs a lot of vibratories. I don't intend on hot rodding this thing as a race car. It's a van that will be a boogie van, so it'll have an interior to match the ideologies of a boogie van. So are we going to pose? For now, but we will be getting some performance under the hood of this thing eventually. I do have a 400 small block I'd like to humor, and we'll go from there. So this video got a bit winded. This is the little odds and sods that need to be taken care of that will fill in the duration when the frustrations arise from bodywork woes. But yeah, it's not the end of the world. When you have a project like this, there's going to be a lot to do. Like that's wood steering wheel project to get rid of this one. I'm just waiting on a couple of little small items to continue the progress on that. There'll be more videos being put out on that. I mean, the wiring, the interior ideas, like these seats are thrashed. There's all sorts of things you can do. But anyways, thanks for watching. I'll post this up and continue on with the bodywork and plucking away on getting this thing back on the road, because it's got a big, greasy, dirty, oily mess, and we got to get that oil line back, or it'll just puke oil everywhere. Thank you very much. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.